This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for November 21st, 2025. I'm your host, Joe Montgomery. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday edition, an Eagles Cowboys Feel Good Friday. Let's get right into it. First, I guess the ever important injury report. Cam Jurgens took a huge step coming back from that concussion, was out practicing yesterday. And then other than Lane, no one else was on the injury report, so that bodes well for the Eagles' health going into this game. Don't forget, the new Brotherly Birds breakdown dropped last night. We went a little bit longer than we normally do, but we went down some Eagles-Cowboys memory lane, talked about our favorite Eagles-Cowboys memory. And truthfully, there's so many, and I was kind of thinking about this even after we did it. There's so many great ones that we left out, and I don't think the Eagles have the amount and the catalog of great memories, great moments in a rivalry that they do with the Cowboys. Sure, there's a lot with the Giants, with the miracle at the Meadowlands and different things like that. But I think from a full body of work and really from like 1980 to today, there's so many big moments in that rivalry. And a rivalry that really didn't, in the early days of it, the Cowboys dominated. So it's been more of the past, 45 years or so, which sounds crazy to even say that because I was alive for all of them. But just lots of good memories. So go wherever you get your podcast as well as on YouTube and check out the new Brotherly Birds breakdown. It is out and it is hot. I think it was probably one of our better episodes ever. Just good. Lots of things this week, obviously, in Eagles camp to talk about. So I think that also played into the length. But hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line this weekend. What is your favorite Eagles-Cowboys memory? So many to choose from. Let's have a good discussion as we get ready to take on the Cowboys. And also drop your Eagles-Cowboys predictions. What do you got for the game? Do it kind of similar to what Kyle and I do. Give me your player of the game, your fantasy breakout stars, all of that. To hear mine, though, go check out the Brotherly Birds breakdown. And I guess AJ spoke yesterday, and I thought he handled the questions well. He was kind of joking around about it. And I don't know, this whole thing, I'm not saying that there is not unhappiness in the building. The whole thing is just not passing the smell test for me. I think the easy one to say, oh, the leak or the mole, if you want to call it that, is A.J. Brown. I don't know. I think if you've watched enough mystery movies to know, it's not the most obvious one. So I don't know. And we got into it last night on the podcast. I don't know. Like, I get that your numbers and whoever is leaking these stories are down. However, the way Jalen Hurts plays quarterback won you a Super Bowl, and it got you to another. So I believe Derek Gunn with all my heart. I trust him. I think he's well respected and connected. But it's not passing the smell test. I just don't get what, and I'm sure at some point we'll get what it is, but either way, it is Eagles-Cowboys Sunday, 4:25. I cannot wait. This is a huge game. The Eagles could essentially, I forget they could win the division this week or maybe even next week against the Bears if everything sort of plays out right. So looking forward to it. Huge game. Looking for a bounce back, though. But hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Give me your favorite Cowboys-Eagles memory, as well as your predictions, your 3 keys, player of the game, all that fun stuff. Let's have some fun this weekend. Speaking of fun, Sixers. That was a fun game. An absolute fun game out of Milwaukee, 123-114 in overtime. They played great in the fourth quarter in overtime to tie it and then ultimately just dominate in overtime. They did struggle in the third quarter again. Seems to be the ongoing theme here. But congrats to Tyrese Maxey with a career-high 54 points. Made some clutch free throws down the stretch there for the Sixers. He's been playing lights out and absolutely has stepped himself into the elite player category. Paul George looked good. 21 points for him in limited minutes. Looked much better offensively and defensively, truthfully, than he did in the first game. No Joe, once again, as he's still dealing with the right knee soreness. Justin Edwards has stepped in nicely as well for Kelly Oubre, playing solid defense. Quentin Grimes still playing well, right in line for Sixth Man of the Year, as we predicted at the beginning of the season. But listen, if nothing else, the team is entertaining. These games are fun. This isn't like the pre-process days when they were just brutal to watch. They're actually fun to watch, and it's entertaining. If they'd have lost that game, it would have been disappointing, but it was a great game. And just watching, I think what we need to do is, I don't know how much we appreciate it. Looking back on it now, we appreciate it more, but I don't know how much we appreciated Allen Iverson when he was here. We need to appreciate Tyrese Maxey because he's got that level. I'm not comparing the two. Don't go there. But as far as an excitement and much watch, he's got that. You got to, whenever he has the ball, what is he going to do? So good win for the Sixers. They're off today and tomorrow, and then they will be at home Sunday against Miami. Flyers out in St. Louis. Or no, I guess the Flyers were at the X. They were at the X last night with a 3-2 win over the Blues. They got down early 2-0 in the first period. Came back. Travis Sanheim with the overtime winner. And again, another team that's fun to watch. I know Scott called in on the Back to the Future voice and text line last week and said that, but that's all you ask for. Especially with teams with, like, it's different with the Eagles. It's certainly different, and even with the Phillies this year because the expectations were different. But the expectations with this Flyers team and even this Sixers team, there are none. So they're just fun to watch. It's nice. Yes, would I like either one of them to win a championship? Yes, but it's nice to just be able to put your feet up, relax, and just enjoy watching a game. They have Bernie Perrant's public memorial service tomorrow at the X. I believe it's free, I heard on the news. You just got to order a ticket, so should be a good time. And then they play the Devils on Saturday. All right, so what's happening? This is a big, big weekend. Obviously, you have the stuff with the Flyers, the game, and Bernie Perrant. You have the Sixers playing Miami. But the Union play in the conference semifinals Sunday night at 7:45 against the New York City Football Club at Subaru Park, looking to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Very excited for this game. I really am. They've had a nice little break here. They should be well rested. So looking forward to the Union trying to earn a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals. My Temple Owls are 7.5-point underdogs as they welcome the number 24 ranked Tulane Green Wave to the link. They're still one game away from being bowl eligible. This would be a huge win for Casey Keeler in his first year to knock off a top 25 team, get the bowl eligibility, but he's done a tremendous job down on North Broad. The number 7 ranked Villanova Wildcats in the FCS coaches poll. They are at home in Villanova tomorrow against Sacred Heart. Another big game for them as they're starting to jockey for Division 1AA, which I guess it's 1AA or FCS. Whatever. It'll always be 1AA to me. But they're jockeying for playoff position as well. All right, so some quick housekeeping notes. Be sure to follow me on all socials at Philly Jimbo. You subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word. We're right in the midst of our 3rd annual gift and food drive benefiting the Maddie and Dixon Community Cupboard in Ambler. All the information is on my social. I partnered with Give Butter this year. It's a better suited site for the fundraiser I'm doing. Go on. Any little bit helps. And we're collecting gift cards to Target, Walmart, Giant. So if you want to just send them directly to them, send them to me. I'll definitely work with you. But they did ask increments of 25 and Walmart, Target, and Giant specifically. But go there, scan the QR code, and give whatever you can. But I'm very excited and happy. One of my favorite things to do every year is raise money, and we will be doing the reverse advent calendar again. I mentioned the Brotherly Birds breakdown. That is available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And the answer to yesterday's trivia question, I asked, I thought, couldn't get this by a lot of people. I thought it would have been a trick question in honor of Bernie Parent's memorial service tomorrow. I said, who is the Flyers' all-time leader in goalie wins? It is, in fact, not Bernie Parent. It is Ron Hextall, who has 240 to Bernie Parent's 231. And that question came up because yesterday was the anniversary of Ron Hextall passing Bernie Parent for the number one spot. Whether you're coaching Little League, crushing your fantasy league, or just rolling up to a bachelor party like a Philly legend, Lotwin custom hype chains bring the energy. Fully customizable, totally unforgettable, and guaranteed to turn you into the MVP of the moment. Great for teams, groomsmen, or anyone who wants to show off with some serious swagger. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD, and get 10% off your own custom hype chain. Lotwin, let's get hyped together. All right, November 21st. Here's what happened on this day in Philly sports history. Let's go back first to 1976 and a pivotal moment in Hollywood, cinema, and Philadelphia history. In fact, the movie Rocky was released. Rocky, obviously the ultimate Philly underdog story, written by Sylvester Stallone. He believed in this project so much that he would not sell it to any movie company unless he was able to be in the starring role. Rocky did go on to win 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture in 1976. And truthfully, one of the best sports movies ever. I do think the whole buying into Rocky got us through a lot of those lean years in the mid to late 80s and early 90s. But it certainly hits differently now that we've won a couple Super Bowls, we've won a World Series. Is it the best sports movie ever? I think you could certainly make the case for Rocky being the best sports movie ever, but released on this date, one of the all-time greatest movies, staple at all Philly, the soundtrack alone at all Philly sports events, whether it's Gonna Fly Now, Going the Distance, whatever, you're going to hear some form of a Rocky song at every Philadelphia sports event you go to. But Rocky was released on this day in 1976, spawning numerous sequels. I guess we can count Rocky V as a sequel, but we tend to forget about that one. And then going into the Creed series and everything. But Rocky released on this day, winner of the 1976 Best Picture at the Academy Awards. All right, and then 2003, this was an interesting one. Villanova beat Temple 73-48 at the Liacouras Center in a game that tipped off at 12:03 a.m. The game was rescheduled officially due to quote-unquote scheduling conflicts, but there's a lot of shadiness going on Villanova's side there. They were due to play in the Maui Invitational. The first official day you could play a college basketball game per NCAA rules was November 21st. So in order to catch their flight and be able to get all their games in, the two schools agreed, against John Chaney's will, I might add, agreed to play at midnight. And the shadiness comes because part of this was because they were playing in the Maui Invitational, and because the season before, Villanova had some little issues with phone cards. And for all you youngins out there, before cell phones, even during this time, you can only use cell phones really after 9 o'clock. You had a set amount of minutes, and you really did not call. There was no texting. Phones were not smart. So we had these things called landlines. And in order to make calls on landlines, especially if you are a college student who was far away from home, you had these prepaid phone cards that had minutes. And there was a scandal where they were either illegally selling them. I forget the exact story, but anyway, a lot of these guys were suspended. So Villanova was afraid they weren't going to have enough people to field a team. So they had already previously scheduled this game against Temple. Again, Chaney was not happy, but to both teams' credit, the fans packed the house at the Liacouras Center that night. It was near capacity. It was raucous. Villanova fans were throwing soda bottles on the court, which, stay classy, Villanova. But on this day, Villanova beat Temple 73-48 at the Liacouras Center with a 12:03 tip-off. And that leads us right into what we're thankful for today. It's the Thanksgiving season. We have a lot to be thankful for as Philly fans. Although, if you watch any sports news and listen to sports talk radio, you wouldn't know it. But we have a lot to be thankful for in Philly. And we've been kind of going through this week and next week what we're thankful for. And today we're thankful for the Big Five. And now the Big Five is certainly not what it was in its heyday. But there's a ton of history. There's a ton of rivalries. The fact that I still get worked up about that 12:03 game with Villanova. I've softened my stance somewhat on Villanova over the years, especially doing a Philly sports podcast. But I'm a Temple guy through and through. And those rivalries still run deep in me. I find it hard to root for teams like Villanova, LaSalle, St. Joe's, Penn, just because of those rivalry. But they do have the Big Five Classic. This is the third year for that. And there's still some pretty big matchups left. And it looks like this could be one of the better days of college basketball in Philly in a long time. But December 1st is a big matchup, Villanova-Temple. The winner will win that pot and be playing for the Big Five championship this year. Penn already knocked off St. Joe's. So St. Joe's likely will not be repeating as... I guess it would be their third straight Big Five Classic championship. Penn still has to play Drexel, though, so you never know when those two neighbors collide. But the Big Five will never be what it was, but there was a point in time when the Big Five was the epicenter of college basketball in the country. You had teams like LaSalle, the old Temple teams, the old Nova teams, St. Joe's, Penn even made a couple runs. Again, never will be what it is, but it's still fun. And so we're thankful for not only the new iteration of the Big Five, which is technically now 6 schools, apparently somewhere along the line in all of the college football realignment and college sports realignment. Math does not matter anymore. Big Ten has 18 teams. Big Five has 6. We're just throwing the rules of math out the window. But lots of great players. Some of the best players to ever play the game came out of the Big Five. So today, we're thankful for the Big Five as we gear up for what seems to be and what's going to be a good couple weeks here for Big Five basketball. And that leads us directly into today's trivia question. It's the weekend. I like to give you a little bit of harder one that's going to make you think, that has multiple layers to it. But the original Big Five, so we're not going to include Drexel in here. Sorry, Dragons. But each of the original Big Five teams have made Final Fours. How many times has each team made the Final Four? And as a bonus to keep you busy this weekend, what years did Big Five teams make the Final Four? Discord channel is the first link in the description. Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. But let me know, each of the Big Five teams have made at least one Final Four. How many did each team make? And as a bonus, work your brain muscle a little bit. What years did they make the Final Four? All right, we're going to go to 2004 next, and the Eagles moved to 9-1 with a 28-6 dominant performance over Washington. Donovan threw for 4 touchdowns, 2 of them to Brian Westbrook, 1 each to Terrell Owens and Chad Lewis. The defense, though, was stout, giving up 51 rushing yards, and it answered a lot of questions about that defense. Everybody talked so much about the offense, and what they were doing with Donovan, T.O., B. West, and all those guys. But the defense really stepped up, shutting down the Washington run game, as it was remember this game for some reason, but it was a very workmanlike 28-6 performance as the Eagles moved to 9-1. And then finally, 2021, Eagles beat the Saints 40-29 at the Link, wearing the all-black uniforms. It was their second win in a row. Jalen Hurts with 3 rushing touchdowns. Defense forced 3 turnovers, including a Darius Slay, big play Slay with a pick 6, which was the defense's 3rd defensive touchdown in the last 4 games. Jake Elliott kicked 4 field goals. And I think this is when we started to believe in Nick and Jalen. It was their first home win of the year, so we're feeling good about that. They were right around 500, and we started to think maybe those roots that Nick was talking about were finally starting to take hold. The Eagles obviously did get hot down the stretch to get into the playoffs before losing to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
It's time for Fridays with AI, where we ask AI to rewrite Philly sports history. Every Friday, only on This Day in Philly Sports History.
That's right. It is Friday. It's time for Fridays with AI. This is our last Fridays with AI before Thanksgiving, so we thought we'd have a little bit of fun with this today. Fridays with AI is, as always, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. They got you covered for your Philly sports apparel needs. Definitely great holiday gifts. I know it's crazy to think about, but it's not too early to start doing the holiday shopping. So go to Philly Goat. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. So in honor of Thanksgiving, I asked AI, what can we do with Philly sports and Thanksgiving? And after a little bit of back and forth, we came up, what if we just made a Thanksgiving plate of all things Philly sports? And I thought it was a fun idea. So let's have some fun here with Thanksgiving. Obviously, no Thanksgiving dinner is complete without the main dish. Most people at their Thanksgiving table have turkey, and that's the Eagles. They are the centerpiece. Everybody shows up for the turkey. Sometimes it's juicy, sometimes it's dry, but it's always the main event. No Thanksgiving or Philly sports year or Philly sports talk or Philly sports discussion feels complete without talking about the Eagles. And then, of course, you have the stuffing. And this is one of my favorite dishes. And I mean, this really sums up this perfectly. One of my favorite dishes, but when it's bad, it's bad. But when it's good, it's one of the best things out there at the Thanksgiving table. And that's the Sixers. Wildly inconsistent. Some years, like I said, it's your favorite thing. Other years, it's burnt, mushy, dry, missing entirely. Somebody forgot the stuffing. It gets burnt. But you keep convincing yourself that this year the stuffing's going to be good. There you go. Sounds exactly like my relationship with the Sixers. And then, of course, the mashed potatoes. That's the Phillies. It's the comfort food. Gets you through. It's soft, warm, nostalgic, dependable, until you find a lump. And usually that could be the bullpen or the hitting sometime in late September. But you still crave it the most, especially when the weather gets colder. In about a month or two, we're going to be winding down the Eagles season, looking forward to the Phils. So the Phils are the mashed potatoes. Then you have the cranberry sauce. That is the Flyers. Sometimes you forget it exists until it's right in front of you. Then you go, oh yeah, this is actually pretty good. Why don't we have this more often? Can be elite, can be fun, can be entertaining, or completely missed on the table. And that essentially is the Flyers. But I'm telling you right now, get on board with the Flyers train. All right, so what about the players? Well, you got the gravy. You can't have Thanksgiving, turkey, filling or stuffing, or filling, whichever one you prefer. Mashed potatoes without the gravy. And the gravy at our Thanksgiving table is Tyrese Maxey. Makes everything better. Even covers up a dry turkey. I think we're so focused right now on the Eagles, we're missing Tyrese doing special things right now. So Tyrese Maxey is the gravy. Jalen Hurts is the sweet potatoes. Reliable, strong, versatile. And then everyone argues whether it's an elite side dish or not, but nobody doubts that it belongs at the table. There you go. And then you got Joel Embiid is the pumpkin pie. The best thing about Thanksgiving when it shows up. Sometimes people bring an apple pie. Sometimes people bring a cherry pie. Sometimes people want to get creative and get cakes or whatever. Sometimes it's melts. Sometimes it's not set right. It's runny. And then all of a sudden you can't eat it. It's not available when you need it the most. Bryce Harper are the dinner rolls. Always delivers. Always gone first. And you think you have enough and suddenly you need more. And that's why I said we need to be thankful for Bryce Harper. And then what about some Philly sports moments? The Philly special. Not every table has it. But when it's there, it instantly becomes the most beloved item at the table. It's comforting, perfect, and talked about for years. Hey, remember Aunt Sally's mac and cheese? The process. It's the experimental dish that no one ever asked for. No one knows what it is. And we swear, if you give it just a chance, it'll be amazing. 6 years later, why is it in a mason jar? Why does it taste like celery? Why does it look like that? Everyone debates it endlessly. And then poor Grandma Molly is just upset because she saw TikTok and nobody likes her experimental side dish. And then finally, for dessert, you have the 2008 Phillies run. It's sweet. It's reliable. Everybody remembers exactly what they were doing when they first tasted it, and nothing has quite hit the same since then. And then from 2001 to 2023, we know the issues with the Sixers, the Phillies, and even the Eagles coming so close to championships. That era is like the burnt dinner rolls. You saw so much potential in them. They smelled so good coming out of the oven, and then boom, Aunt Sally forgot to take them out of the oven. They're burnt. You can't eat them, and you're left wondering, what if? And then finally, our coaches. Nick Sirianni's the green bean casserole. Surprisingly polarizing. And if you think about green bean casserole, people either love it or you hate it. I'm more in the hate. Not Nick Sirianni, though. Some people think it's a Thanksgiving essential, where others think it's weird and unnecessary. But the results, pretty strong. There's usually not too much green bean casserole left over. Rob Thompson is mashed potatoes with the skin left on. Very old school, very comforting, very debatable. I tend to not be mashed potatoes with the skin on. I'd rather have them peeled. But you either love the texture or you absolutely hate it. And that sums up Rob Thompson perfectly. So there you have it. There is our Philly Sports Thanksgiving Table special. Hope you had a little bit of fun with that. Thank you to AI for helping create that list. As always, Fridays with AI is brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. But comparing the Sixers to stuffing that really got me, because I'm like, that just sums up how I feel about the Sixers perfectly. On this day in 2021, Eagles beat the Saints 40-29 at the Link. Second win in a row. Jalen Hurts with 3 rushing touchdowns. 2004, the Eagles with a dominant win over Washington to move to 9-1. 2003, Villanova beat Temple in a 12:03 tip-off at the Liacouras Center. And Rocky, one of our all-time favorite sports movies, arguably the best sports movie ever made, was released on this day in 1976. Don't forget our trivia question. How many times has each Big Five school made the Final Four, and what years? And of course, we'll be back Monday to wrap up what proves to be a busy weekend. We got Sixers, Flyers, Temple football, Nova football, the Union in the playoffs, and of course, the main event, Eagles Cowboys 425 on Sunday. If you want more on the Eagles Cowboys, check out the Brotherly Birds breakdown wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. It's a pretty good one. We went down Eagles Cowboys memory lane. All right, this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for November 21st, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a feel-good Friday. Go Birds. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.